Hi, I'm Ray Lee. I'm from School of Biological Sciences. Normally I don't teach virtually or streaming or anything like that. It's usually with 600 students sitting in Todd Auditorium, and I guess in some ways that might be virtual or some sort of reality. So I want to talk about some resources that are available online that have to do with the area that I study, which is biological oceanography. And it turns out that it seems like there's probably a nice convergence with what people are doing in research and the idea of the virtual classroom. So this is looking through the porthole of the Alvin submarine. It's the same submarine that discovered the Titanic or found the wreckage of the Titanic. And that's what you see. That's your day at the office. And so you could be like me and maybe have spent about 300 days of your life on ships and looking out through these little portholes. And that would be a fairly limited in terms of how many people can do that. The Alvin only holds 2 people, right, including the pilot and not counting the pilot. So if you go 2 at a time, you're not going to reach the global campus, are you? But it turns out that there may be other ways to do this. And I've been trying to employ this to some extent, not so much in the large 600-student intro biology class, but I also teach some smaller classes on marine biology to try to not necessarily teach a virtual class, but to bring some of these resources into the classroom. I feel like usually an all of the above strategy works well for me to try to keep things as sort of mixed up as possible, and hopefully not mixing up the students, but combine, different types of resources. And so I've tried to use some of these virtual resources that I'm about to show you in my classroom. And one of the things that's obvious if we're here on Pullman in a classroom, like I just came from my marine ecology 400 level biology 410 class, is that we are not by the ocean. And I've taught marine biology in an ocean setting. I've brought undergraduates onto ships and graduate students. And just because you bring them to the ocean doesn't mean that they're going to be engaged or fascinated by it. Is the virtual experience going to be the same? No, it's not. It's different. But I think each has their strengths. People ask me, one of the common questions I get when people find out I'm in Pullman, this is inland, is they go, wow, how can you be a marine biologist in Pullman? But the reality is all of the work I've done is offshore. You have to get on a boat, you need plane tickets. That's the way things are done. For whatever reason, everyone's always thought that marine biology is some sort of different thing where you wear waders and you are in a tide pool. And well, I mean, that is some of it, but that's probably 1%. I can't even swim, okay? So, you don't have to be a scuba diver. So we've used some of this sort of getting the ocean to the classroom to a limited extent. And I guess in terms of what I would think would be the purpose or what we can accomplish, again, it's not the same as taking Sonia Kolstow, who was the first WSU undergraduate to dive in the Alvin. Obviously, that was kind of a big deal for her, and that's not going to happen. But I think we can get a lot of things out of the web resources. First of all, there is a lot of information that is there, and it's the raw data. It's not what has been processed through a textbook. So it's real. It's the data that the scientists are working on. I think that's cool. I think there's a level of engagement that can happen because they know that they are watching it live, okay? That it's really happening, that it really is the ocean. And so there's certain immediacy. It's happening in real time. It's not me. I mean, I can provide a certain amount of authenticity to it because I am a marine biologist, but they are actually seeing what's going on the bottom of the ocean, and I think that's great. Plus, there are some tools that have been developed, some online laboratory exercises where they can have inquiries, so they can actually ask questions and answer that on their own using some of these sites. So I want to show you that. And this is not some kind of poor man's substitute for marine biology. Yes, we are not at a tide pool, but if we look at the history of marine biology, the first research cruise was on a British warship that was converted over 3.5 years, went around the globe, and then we get in these submarines where 2 people can look, and then eventually we turn these submarines into robots. We've got high-def screens where actually you can see with the robot, the unmanned or unpersoned, unhuman occupied vehicle in the control room, the whole crew of the ship can go in there and see in high def what is going on at the bottom of the ocean. And because the quality of digital video is just amazing, you can see better in the control room than you can out of the little 5-inch plexiglass porthole from the Alvin. Plus, you are not by yourself. You have everyone around you who can advise as to how we do the experiments. It's turned out now that when people request, when they get funded by the National Science Foundation and request resources used for their research, they don't request the Alvin. Even though everyone wants to dive in the Alvin, they request a robot like Jason. Jason stays underwater 24/7. Jason will work you to the, work you like you will be exhausted after a Jason cruise because it's 24 hours a day. They get so much done and so much better. So this is not virtual is not the poor man's substitute. It's actually the best way of doing the science. And the great thing is we can bring that to the classroom. And this is going to follow Moore's law, okay? When I first started college 30 years ago, or whatever it was, 1983, the Mac Plus came out. And that is not a very impressive machine when we think about the smartphones that you were using with Adam's presentation to view Versailles or Prague or the Van Gogh Library or Museum. And these things are cheap, okay? Digital cameras, underwater cameras, all of this stuff, what we're talking about now will be obsolete in 10 years. So I work with a network. There's also a US network that's coming that's off the coast of Canada. And so it's running about 80, 100 miles off the shore. They put an internet cable with power to nodes on the seafloor, including deep sea hydrothermal vents, which are those volcanoes that I showed you in my intro slide. This is an amazing technology, and it's only just starting to be used, and it sort of had to overcome a lot of obstacles that, just technological obstacles. But there are a variety of cameras at each one of those different nodes where you can get real-time video. And so while the lights aren't on for this video here, what you're actually seeing is there's a reef off the coast of British Columbia, and it's zoomed in on some barnacles. So this is a live feed. You saw some movement there, so I'm not lying. This is happening. And no one really cares what barnacles are doing, but it's actually kind of interesting if you can explain it. But so we are now offshore. The reason why there's some light, it's only like 20 meters. There are other cameras, they're not on all of the time. The camera that I'm working with is only on a couple hours a day. It's over at a deep sea vent. So you can follow this schedule, and at the end of my presentation, if you've got the PDF of the PowerPoint, there's some links to these, but there's a variety of these cameras where students can actually follow this stuff in real time. And in my classes, we try to, if there is a camera on, and there's some lesson that I can teach them about, bring that, mention it. And is it the same as them being at the bottom of the ocean? No. But it's not like we're on a rainy day in Pullman and it's so like kind of talking about marine biology and it just doesn't seem like it's completely clicking. We can say, hey, let's go see what's going on at the bottom of the ocean, show that, and it's nice kind of variety to the class. And there's more that can be done with this. I will mention that this also brings in citizen science. The level of our ability to analyze images right now is pretty poor. We can't analyze a video feed that's going like 24 hours a day to like count organisms and things like that. We actually require citizens to watch. And there's a thing called the Digital Fishers, where citizens through the Ocean Networks Canada website can go in and actually analyze video that's been recorded on the network and tell the scientists what's there. There's a teenager over in Donetsk, Ukraine, who a few years ago saw an elephant seal slurp down a hagfish. It was not known. Hagfish look like these like slimy worms that are, you wouldn't think anything would want to eat them. And it's actually, there's some reasons why they can't be eaten, because they produce this huge balls of slime. And he saw the elephant seal eating it, and that had never been seen before in science. Now he has a YouTube channel. Well, since due to where he is, I'm not sure if the internet's working in Donetsk right now, but a year ago, he had his YouTube channel, and his videos have had millions of hits. Kid in Ukraine, okay? He's now got his marine life YouTube channel and Discoveries for Science. So this is sort of, I don't know, I like to bring that example in because it's kind of illustrates the power of some of these virtual resources. So continuing on, Ocean Networks Canada. That's just the start. There's another one based out of UW. I'm going to France next month. There's another one on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge Observatory, which is a European observatory. We don't know where this is going. We've got cameras, we've got instruments collecting in real time. Part of the idea here is that we would make the data available. My data are available to the public. You can download it from the website. We've got a crawler. So they're robots that can be turned on, that'll go around and explore. And again, if Moore's Law applies 10 years from now, who knows? You might have a virtual 3D fly-through, okay? Anytime you log in to Ocean Networks Canada. So variety of instruments there, and again, these are resources that in a sense we can bring into the classroom. That's just our camera setup. This thing is getting real data. This one right here is just taking steel cameras of a tube-worm bush. I've got some temperature instruments out there, and I can talk to you more about that. This is about 80 miles off the coast of British Columbia in 200 meters of water, so it's almost a mile deep. This is outer space, okay? There's no way that a human being can go there by themselves unless you've got a huge titanium sphere around you or you're hooked up to the internet. This is how we study it. So it's not like a substitute. There was an amazing cruise. There's a ship called the Nautilus that has some ROVs, and we followed this in my class. So I was kind of for each class, I would give an update of cruises in progress. And I felt that was kind of, it was okay. They were interested in it, some more than others. And the thing is, with this live video feed, so it's going 24/7, we can see things in incredible clarity and detail. It's better than you could see from the Alvin. And they're actually seeing discovery as it happens. So these are little zoanthid polyps. These are probably about 2 millimeters across. It's just amazing. It's amazing what you can see in real time. Now, so I like to use them as kind of an immediacy thing, just as an illustration of some real science that's going on right now. The other thing is, I'm a scientist. Something along the way kind of diverted me from actually making money and instead coming here and doing what I do. Now, there must have been something kind of that grabbed me, okay, to make me do that. And it was probably from endless hours in the tide pool counting things, or maybe in the laboratory with test tubes. And as one of my, I've been teaching these like 106 students for 16 years now, and you always think about like, how are we going to have some successes? Like how is the next Ray Lee, how am I going to reach them that way? Now, I can't say I've been successful with every single one of them. That would be terrible if there was like 20,000 of me around. But one of the things that happens is you become absorbed in some type of scientific activity, and you're just staring at it. And one of the things I think happened with following the Nautilus cruise, some students got hooked on it, and they started watching it, even though it wasn't assigned. And that was a really cool thing. Because, academic pursuit is not like how flashy lectures and like cool graphics and things like that. It's the countless hours sitting absorbed on something. Like you care about what's happening next. I can't leave the video feed because I don't know when they get to this next to the top of the seamount, what's going to happen, And so I think that we can maybe capture that, which would be awesome. So we've got the live camera feeds. There's several of them. This will just continue more and more. There is now Google Maps. We all use Google Maps to find places, they've now got Google Maps on coral reefs. It's not super impressive. I'll probably use that for my marine biology class when we go over coral reefs, just because the images are amazing, but it's not like a virtual dive. You can't go very far. You have to just basically go around in a circle, which is kind of boring. It's not like over at Versailles or something where you can go everywhere. But it'll get there. It'll get there. Ocean Networks Canada, everyone else is probably going to be doing more of this. They've got sort of ways of bringing inquiry into the classroom, some virtual lab exercises where you can look at data, plot it. This is all free and available to the public. They have their program of the digital fishers. Does that mean I'm running out of time? Where are we at on time here? Where you go through and first they train you to identify everything, like a starfish, a skate, a rockfish, shrimp, cod, eel pout, etc. So once you pass the test and show that you can be a digital fisher, they'll actually run you through time-lapse images from some of their video feed. Because we want to know, when was the abundance of rockfish, was it high during high tide or low tide, or when we had this phytoplankton bloom, et cetera, et cetera. So this is one thing. I think it's more, I haven't used this for my class yet, it's more geared towards K-12. But the digital fishers thing where they actually go through and analyze the video through this interface, I mean, this is kind of like what biologists do. We are out in the field and we're trying to determine what patterns are out there. Like, are we seeing more fish associated with rocky structure versus sandy bottom, that sort of thing. So it is real science. And I will say that, not every student is going to be engaged by this. Some will, some won't. It's probably better than just listening to me talk. But even if you're taking students out on a cruise, I've taken high school students out there who were just completely bored by the Alvin. After you've done it one time, it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. They would rather play the video games or watch DVDs up in the lounge. Okay, fine, that's them. So just being out at sea is not necessarily going to engage everyone either. So it's just sort of a thing. You keep all of the above, keep trying things. They've got laboratory exercises that are geared towards the college level. We haven't used these yet, but here's one where they actually analyze data they've got sonar data that show the distribution of zooplankton in the water column and how it's affected by time. There's a migration that happens at night. So there are laboratory exercises that are out there for people to use. Here's the US initiative that's just starting, and they've got live feeds from their cruises, and they're putting theirs out to some hydrothermal vents south of the Neptune, Canada one. So there's a lot there. Google Maps Street View. These are coral reefs. They've got an amazing camera that looks in in all around, and they've been kind of doing some limited dives at different reefs. One thing that I would love to do as they make this a little bit better, well, I could probably still use it, but you can't, the zooming in isn't as good as on these dives, but maybe say, hey, we're studying cnidarians right now, so I want you to go through the footage and find X number of examples. And the web is so great for biology right now that you can probably find pictures. I mean, Google Images has recognition types of things too, which are probably not, we'll have to get better, but say, find me 5 corals, or something like that. I think that'll start to become something that's really great. So I'm a traditional lecture in front of 600 students type of faculty. The global campus is something different. I'm definitely excited about that. 600, that's hardly anyone when you think about global campus. Let's talk about 6 million. So how do we do that, and what kind of resources are out there? And I would say, I don't think you can create a virtual cruise, but I think you can use some of these resources. We had a live Twitter feed so when I do my research now, it's in my living room. My cats can come and see it, which they're always curious about that. Where are you putting those? They see me putting together the temperature loggers, and they like to play with the little string part of it. And they're always wondering, where do these things get installed? And I can show them, and they're not even curious about it. But this happens in my living room the last few years. I haven't even gone to see. We can do it just as well from the living room. So we've been able to, we communicate via Skype, and we've brought that to a recruiting event for the Honors College, and we actually had the high school students talk to somebody on the ship. Now, it was just kind of cool. You know, it kind of got their attention. Something, you know, maybe UW didn't have that, so maybe we'll get them instead of UW. But I also think, you know, one of the other things is just it's live. And I'd like to point to a couple like things outside of marine biology that are kind of interesting. I mean, I don't have any concrete things to say about it, but just, I think, related. Some of you are old enough to remember this, O.J. Simpson in the white Bronco. Remember that? We're watching that. It's the stupidest thing, really, when you think about it, watching O.J. Simpson drive down the highway. But we're riveted by that. We're just watching it. And we think about our students. How do we get their attention? Well, somewhere in there, there's something like that where if people will watch for 24 hours O.J. Simpson's white Bronco, they'll probably watch some marine biology. I could probably figure out a way to do that. Another one is, this is the oldest experiment in the world. This is called the pitch drop experiment. A guy, new professor, Australian University, inherited this thing. This is a mineral that is still a liquid. It's gradually going to make this drop bigger, and one day it'll fall into this beaker where another drop fell about 60 years ago. He said, you know what? I'm going to put a webcam on this. But then he never knew if anyone was watching it until the webcam went out. And he got flooded by emails because people were watching this and didn't want to miss it. Crazy. And then finally, the virtual may be all we've got. So some of you may know that the trainers from Blackfish, the movie Blackfish, were just here about a week ago. And it'll happen that we no longer have captive orcas. There's no way that people, I mean, it just seems wrong. But now there are virtual resources. This is in Japan, where some elementary school was seeing on the huge screen right up close to like a humpback whale. And they were engaged, okay? This is better than this, and this may not be possible. So the other thing to think about is virtual may be the only way for some things. And I think that's kind of interesting too. So thank you. I guess these are those links I was telling you about. There's also an educator with Ocean Networks Canada who would love to be contacted about this. There's not really as much being done with this as one would think, actually. And thank you.